Hi guys, welcome back to Gwayne Sailing. At the end of April, most of our cruiser friends in the Bahamas were heading back to the United States, but we were getting ready to head further south in the Caribbean islands. We tried to spend as much time as possible with our friends before we had to part ways. We attended a local church barbecue in Georgetown, explored some downtown businesses there, and invited friends over to play games on our boat one last time. We helped Tim and Angela eat and drink the last of the provisions on their boat, since they were flying home to the United States and couldn't take the food with them. Wayne and I took a hike up to Monument Hill, where we could see our boat from a bench at the top. Then we hiked over to the other side of the island to confirm that the waves on the ocean side were still way too big for us to sail to our next destination. So we stuck around for a few more days. Wayne played music with some other musicians during impromptu jam sessions on the beach. Wayne also won big at the cruiser's poker night. And we watched another regatta sloop boat race in the harbor right by our boat. Before we left the Bahamas, we filled up the boat with gas at the marina. We headed into town to provision one last time at the grocery store. It hasn't gotten that hot yet this spring, but we can see that in the heat of the summer, it gets so hot that things just melt right into the parking lot asphalt. I got one more fresh conch salad at the Conch Shack before we left. Watching them pull the fresh conch from the water, dig the meat out of the shells, and then chop up all the fruits and vegetables is quite amazing and tastes delicious. It was a 5-day journey to the Turks and Caicos, which gave Wayne plenty of time to catch a few good-sized tuna. Along the way, we stopped at Calabash Bay on Long Island. Here, we dinghied over to the Christopher Columbus Monument and climbed up the hill for some amazing views. Over dinner and drinks that evening, we discussed the weather and waves with other boaters heading in the same direction as us. Our second stop was in Clarencetown, Long Island, where we got off the boat to stretch our legs and visit the small community. We walked past a cool church and said hi to the chickens and sharks at the government dock. We anchored the third night near Umbrella Rock in the Aucklands, and the fourth night was spent in a peaceful anchorage in Mayaguana. On the fifth day, we finally arrived in Turks and Caicos, where Wayne raised the yellow quarantine flag until we were able to check into the country. The marina that we stayed at in the Turks had many fun tourist boats and rental boats passing us during the day. But it was very quiet at nighttime. We were able to use the amenities at the all-inclusive resort next door, including their infinity pool with a swim-up bar, the cozy chairs, couches, and cabanas by the fire pit, and we were able to join in on all the beach activities and social events at the hotel. We rented a car with our friends Danielle and Aaron and explored Provo for the day. We stopped for lunch at a beach bar with picnic tables in the water for when the tide comes in, and then we toured the Turks Head Brewery. We went to an outdoor market at the Fish Fry and checked out the swimming pool at our marina's sister resort. Wayne also had some boat projects to keep him busy while we were there. Strong trade winds blowing from the east slowed us down by 1 or 2 knots on our way to the Dominican Republic. Combine that with the warm equatorial currents in the Atlantic Ocean flowing from the east, and that added hours to our journey. In order to help keep the ride comfortable, safe, and as smooth as possible, we needed to sail at night. We would each take 4-hour shifts until we reached Luperon in the Dominican Republic. The anchorage was hot and buggy with many no-see-ums and mosquitoes. but we enjoyed exploring the port town of Luperon. The water here was much different than the turquoise, crystal clear blue waters of the Bahamas and Turks Caicos. It was quite a culture shock going from an all-inclusive resort to a third world country where everyone speaks Spanish and exhausted dogs lay asleep in the cool shade. However, the boating community was so welcoming, and there are many friendly expats who have made Luperon their home. We dinghied to the boat dock and walked to Customs and Immigration to check into the Dominican Republic. The recent rains has washed out the bridge that goes to the Armada, so we walked through the town on dirt roads, up a giant hill, past goats grazing in the farmland, and past chickens and turkeys in the street, all in order to get to the other side of the washed-out bridge and the government office where we needed to check in with the Armada. While we were there, I enjoyed doing yoga at the Old Luperon Yacht Club. We had drinks at the small marina in the bay, and Wayne enjoyed playing harmonica with the locals a few nights at the Chill Out restaurant before we needed to leave town the next day. After another stormy and bumpy and choppy overnight crossing, the sun finally came up and shone on the jungle hills, rising above the beautiful tropical coastline for the next few hours, until we pulled into the marina in the town of Samana, Dominican Republic. The marina also had a hotel attached to it and was very nice, with a couple of swimming pools on the property. While we were there, we moved everything inside and had Gwayne completely detailed and got the bottom cleaned by some friendly locals. Wayne fixed the red and green navigation lights that went out during our overnight passage, and our friend Brian on the boat La Tortuga went up the mast to help us replace a broken part. We had dinner with friends at the marina and went swimming with our friends on Soulmate. The marina was sponsoring a regatta that weekend, and our SSCA sailing club was part of it. So there was a lot of activities going on that weekend, like a welcome party, a craft fair, a tropical barbecue, and an awards ceremony with sailboat trophies. We spent the day watching the boat races from the swimming pool. We rented a car to explore the town of Samana and the surrounding area. Driving here was quite the experience. We passed trucks full of limes and bananas, and traffic was much different inside of town versus outside of town. In the city, motorcycles would drive on all sides of the road. And in the countryside, we had to dodge horses, roadside vendors, and dogs. We found a geocache in Samana. It was hidden on the last of 4 islands, all of which were connected to the mainland by walkways and bridges. We went to a local cigar factory and a cacao plantation to learn more about the natural resources that grow in the Dominican Republic. But the highlight of our trip was a visit to the tallest waterfall in the Dominican Republic. We rode guided horses on a trail for about 20 minutes, and then hiked down a muddy, crude rock and log staircase to the base of the beautiful El Limon Falls to get some great photos. It was just a short 1.5-hour sail over to the national park in Samana, Dominican Republic. It looked like something right out of Jurassic Park or Disney World. We took the dinghy to shore to explore a couple of caves. We found some rock carvings and some petroglyph drawings on the walls. The next day, we took a dinghy ride through the mangroves with our friends on the boats Soulmate and Serendipity. We had to be careful to avoid the tour boats coming around the bends. We parked our dinghies and walked for about 10 minutes to the super cool and beautiful Eco Lodge. The resort was built with all natural resources that are found in the nearby mountains. There were many, many different waterfalls and swimming pools to explore and to play in. There was even a restaurant and lodge for anyone wanting to stay overnight. We headed back to our dinghies at night and watched the bioluminescence sparkle below us in the bay, and then enjoyed some music later that evening. The next night, we stayed at a nearby island for a long passage to Punta Cana. We arrived at Cap Cana Marina around dinner time. It is located within a beautiful resort area, and we had an amazing meal at the 5-star Casa Costa. We really wish we could have stayed longer than one night in Punta Cana, but due to some upcoming bad weather, we had to leave for Puerto Rico the following day. Crossing the bumpy Mona Passage from the Dominican Republic to Puerto Rico took us all day, from sunup to sundown. Puerto Rico was much more urban than any of the other islands that we visited since leaving Florida, and we enjoyed seeing grass lawns, expressways, and fast food restaurants again. We spent a day with a rental car touring the west side of Puerto Rico. We visited the Cabo Roja salt flats and would have loved to learn more about salt extraction, but the visitor center was closed due to hurricane damage. The intense Caribbean sun and consistent winds evaporate the seawater, leaving behind huge mounds of natural crystallized salt. We also went to a cute little beach town called Boquerón and explored the waterfront shops, restaurants, and bars. There is a cool bridge in town that connects the shopping side with a large sandy beach to relax in and cool off in the water. Well, that's it for this episode of Gwayne Sailing. Join us next time to see more of Puerto Rico and all the beauty that the Virgin Islands has to offer. If you're enjoying these videos, please like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. Bye guys.